So it's been about a month since this article and the accompanying podcast came out, and I haven't stopped thinking about it since. The article is called "The CEO of Zoom Wants AI Clones in Meetings." And it's really funny because if you listen to the podcast, the host of the podcast, who's the editor-in-chief of this website, Nilay Patel, he says the exact same thing. He also can't stop thinking about it.
I haven't stopped thinking about it since we recorded it. I think you're going to like it.
But I wonder if it's for the same reason, which is that this is just some of the dumbest stuff I've ever heard come out of a human's mouth. Like, it's so stupid that I can't believe it's published, and I can't believe Eric Yuan, the CEO of Zoom, has not emailed them and been like, could we take this down, please? Anyway, let's go through it together. Join me on this journey into just like the dumbest future anyone could want. You can go listen to the podcast if you want. I'm going to highlight the things he said, just factually what he said with words and with no comment for me. We'll comment later. I'm just going to tell you what Eric Yuan, the CEO of Zoom, the video conferencing company, said about the future of Zoom. The video conferencing company. So Eric Yuan, the CEO of Zoom, wants Zoom to be an AI-first company. He says that in the future, Zoom, the video conferencing software, will be able to send digital clones of you to meetings. And those digital clones will read your emails so that you don't have to. Like, they'll respond to emails. They will act as you. They will make decisions. They will go to meetings and answer questions exactly the way you would do it. It says an AI avatar will essentially be an AI version of yourself, meaning it will act the same way you will. And you can use it to do your work because it's going to behave the same way that you would in that situation. It has all of your knowledge and all of your information. And in fact, you could have an infinite number of these AI digital clones that could all be synced together and working together. But also, what if you could change the parameters on those clones? What if you could make one a little bit better at being a salesman? Or you could turn up the empathy when you go fire a person for sending an AI clone to a meeting or something. You can do that with Zoom, the video conferencing software. Let me read to you from this interview his vision for the company. Today, for this session, ideally, I do not need to join. I can send a digital version of myself to join so I can go to the beach. Or, I don't know, check my emails. The digital version of myself can read most of the emails. Maybe one or two emails will tell me, Eric, it's hard for the digital version to reply. Can you do that? Again, today, we all spend a lot of time either making phone calls, joining meetings, sending emails, deleting some spam emails, and replying to some text messages. Still very busy. How do we leverage AI? How do we leverage Zoom Workplace to fully automate that kind of work? That's something that is very important for us. I think for now, the number one thing is AI is not there yet, and that still will take some time. Let's assume, fast forward 5 or 6 years, that AI is ready. AI probably can help for maybe 90% of the work, but in terms of real-time interaction, today you and I are talking online. So I can send my digital version, and you can send your digital version. So Eric Yuan, the CEO of Zoom, is predicting that in 5 to 6 years' time, 5 to 6 years from now, Zoom will be playing the paradigm-shifting role in ensuring that you can send your digital clone to meetings, to answer emails, to make decisions, replacing 90% of your job. Eric Yuan, the CEO of Zoom, says in 5 to 6 years, 90% of the work done by human workers will be done by digital clones hosted by Zoom. The video conferencing software. Zoom, the company who looks like this. That company is going to be the one to introduce AI to the workforce in a way that works. And then, we'll be at the beach. Like you and I, we're at the beach. The digital clones are doing all the work. 5 to 6 years, 90% of the work. We're at the beach. The tech world is just hoisted up by journalists who don't ask second questions, where they kind of just let really rich people with companies say stupid shit without asking them about it, asking any second question. Eric Yuan, CEO of Zoom, is 90% of labor will be gone because our digital clones will replace them. And it's where did you get that number, babe? Why are you saying that number very specifically? What do you mean? Nilay Patel, the interviewer here, I think he does an admirable job walking this fine line, right? Like, he can't laugh in the CEO of Zoom, Eric Yuan's face, and be like, you think digital clones are happening in 5 years? Like, oh my God, what do you mean? He can't do that, right? So, for example, here's one of the questions Nilay Patel asks Eric Yuan, the CEO of Zoom. He says, what about hallucinations? Like, right now, we were all very excited when we saw how good ChatGPT was, but then we realized almost immediately that it just makes up garbage. It just makes up lies. AI is a nice little tool you can use, but you need an expert to check it. And you're saying in 5 to 6 years, we're going to be rid of that problem? Like, we'll no longer have hallucinations? Are you guys working this? It's so funny because Eric Yuan, the CEO of Zoom, he's just like, well, yeah, that's a problem. You can't get there overnight. 5 to 6 years from now, I'm sure that'll be fixed. That's going to be fixed. And Nilay Patel asks a second question, something I appreciate very much. And he says, are y'all working on this? Or like, this is what you guys are fixing? Do you have some information we don't have? Like, what's happening here? And Eric Yuan, the CEO of Zoom, says the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. He says, it's down the stack. It's just down the stack.
Just correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you are so right. Absolutely. This is technology stack. You have to count on so many others. Yeah.
So is the AI model hallucination problem down there in the stack, or are you investing in making sure that the rate of hallucinations goes down?
I think that'll be fixed, in the low level.
But I guess my question is by who? Is it by you, or is it somewhere down the stack?
And some down the stack.
You've heard of the job of like Stack Developer, and you've heard of the website like Stack Overflow. The stack is just like a data structure. It's fine. It doesn't matter. Actually, I don't know if this is true. Is this like a factual piece of information or just a story that people tell? Let me know in the comments. I've always heard that you describe the stack as like one of those plate things at like a buffet where like plates pop up, right? That's the data structure. So you can push the plates down by adding new plates, but the bottom plate is always on the bottom. So Eric Yuan, the CEO of Zoom, a company that looks like this, a video conferencing company, says, no, we're going to be AI first, right? And at the top of the stack, you have AI tools, a thing that Zoom offers at no cost to you. And the thing about Zoom's AI tools is that they're all just ChatGPT. Like, the AI tools offered by Zoom is like they listen to the meeting and they read the chat and they convert that all to like the text of the meeting. And then the AI language learning model summarizes that meeting and sends it back to you. That's an AI tool by Zoom, which is equivalent to like the capstone project of a 10th grader using ChatGPT. Zoom just uses ChatGPT, right? And down the stack, way down the stack, 5 to 6 years from now, apparently somebody is going to make a tool that can make an AI clone that Zoom will then use to replace 90% of the workforce. But that's down the stack. It's just down the stack. Like, in between magic, it's magic, but 5 years from now, it's down the stack. I can't stop saying it's down the stack. I think it's one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life. Like, how is that going to happen? What's going to happen? It's down the stack. It's just down the stack. Okay, but let's roll it back. Let's discuss what I would have asked as a second question when Eric Yuan, the CEO of Zoom, said in 5 to 6 years he's going to replace 90% of the workforce with AI digital clones that attend Zoom meetings. Like, the first thing I would say is Zoom is a company that looks like this. Zoom does not have the capital to purchase whatever company's tool that could actually make digital AI clones. So are they developing these tools? Nilay Patel does ask, and Eric Yuan is just like, it's down the stack. It's going to happen in the future. Like, I'm sure these problems will be solved. I'm sure they will be solved. And I would just say, whomst is solving the problems? If we were going to make a list of why this is so stupid, that's the first big thing I would say. Why would whatever research group, whatever company that produces this amazing language learning model that can be applied from person to person, that is so high fidelity that it can be fine-tuned, that you can change the parameters on it and send like a good salesman out, Why would they ever give that to Zoom? Why would Zoom be involved at all? Zoom is a company that looks like this. They do not have the capital to purchase this. They do not have the capital to do this research. Why would Zoom be involved at all? What do you think your role is in this? Sure, you can grab ChatGPT and you can shove it wherever nobody wants it, because nobody wants it. But like, everyone can do that. Why do you get to make the digital clones? What specifically is Zoom offering? Zoom is a video conferencing company. What do you mean? That also doesn't work. Even in the magical world where you can make an AI clone of yourself that can go to meetings and can make decisions, it's just like, that's not how meetings work. Meetings are not like, here's a summary of what Angela knows on this topic. In a meeting, I'm having a conversation. We are talking in a room together, or we are talking on Zoom. I mean, nobody's using Zoom. They're on Microsoft Teams. Or like, we're drawing on a whiteboard. Am I going to have to wear a camera and a microphone at all times so my Zoom clone can get all of that information? Because Eric Yuan, the CEO of Zoom, is acting like all of that information is in emails. Meetings don't happen in emails. Meetings are conversations. Meetings, especially for scientists like myself, we're writing equations down and we're trying to solve problems, and we're all talking about previous experiences we've had in different labs, in different environments that will help us solve the current problem. And none of that is in an email. None of that can be scrapped by the AI to get the information. How would this even work? How does the AI clone know that in 2013 I was in an undergrad lab and I used a very specific algorithm? How does it know that? How is it going to know that? Because that's how I'm going to solve the problem with my brain. How does my AI digital clone have that piece of information? Are you saying that Eric Yuan, the CEO of Zoom, will somehow figure out how the human brain works and somehow be able to map my brain and put it into the clone? Because otherwise the clone is just reading emails, and the only information it has is what's in the emails. Am I literally wearing a microphone every day to train it on what I would say in different situations? It doesn't make any sense. It's so stupid. The technology will definitely not exist in 5 years, but even if it did, it would not work that way. Have you even thought about this for a second? The next thing I think is like, who's paying for this? Like, does my company hire me and then give Zoom money to make an AI clone of me that I can then send to meetings? Or do I have to pay Zoom money to host my AI clones and keep track of them and make sure all the information is up to date? Like, why is Zoom involved in this at all? Like, if I have an AI clone, wouldn't that be something I'm disseminating to the various companies I'm working for? Or alternatively, more probably, the CEOs of whatever company I'm working for would steal my identity and be like, well, this is company property now. Now we have your clones and you're fired, right? This doesn't make sense. Where are the AI clones? Who's keeping track of them? Who's storing the data? Who's training them? How long does it take to train them? What do you mean an AI clone can attend a meeting and answer exactly how I would answer, and this is 5 years away? What do you mean? It's just down the stack, but like, once that happens, what do you mean? What's exactly happening? It made me think about it, probably more than Eric Yuan, the CEO of Zoom, has thought about it. The thing about AI is that it's a tool, right? You cannot blame an AI tool for a decision it's made. That will always be on the person who uses the AI tool, right? So if I send my AI tool to a meeting and I tell a random customer that like, hell yeah, we can build that thing, right? And then later I find out that, oh no, my AI clone said I could build a thing that I can't build, and we took $475,000 from this company to build it, and we can't do it, and now we owe them that money, which has already been spent on buying tools because the AI clone purchased the tools because it's allowed to make decisions and it thought we could build the thing, but I'm the scientist and I know it's not possible. So now we owe them money we don't have, plus the litigation fees once they sue us for saying we could do a thing that we can't do. Is Eric Yuan, the CEO of Zoom, going to pay for that? Is he going to insure us against the AI clones making shit up or lying, a thing that AI does very, very well? I mean, it's not lying. It just gobbledygooks whatever information it has into an answer, and a lot of time that's going to be nonsense. Is he going to guarantee that it's not nonsense? Who is going to pay for this when this thing fucks up? Is that what the CEO of Zoom, Eric Yuan, is saying is going to happen. Like, instead of being a video conferencing software, they're going to be like an insurance company for AI tools, and they're going to say our digital clones 100% all the time. Is that what's happening? Because you can't have an AI clone make a decision unless you know 100% that it will be an actual good decision that you would have made. And you can never know that because AI is a black box. It doesn't work that way. It's so stupid to say that this is even close to feasible. It's embarrassing to say that this is a possibility. AI tools like this would not save anyone any time, because even if you sent your AI clone to a meeting, you would then have to read the transcript of that meeting to make sure that your AI clone didn't say anything stupid, and you would have to send emails and be like, what is your AI clone talking about, dude? And you would start having really weird time-wasting meetings where you would email Dave and be like, your AI clone has convinced my AI clone that this law of physics is broken. Now they're gone off on a loop and they think they can break the second law of thermodynamics, and that's not how this works. So we need to reset our clones to 4 days ago, and we need to figure out why and it's such a waste of time. It doesn't make sense. And Eric Yuan, the CEO of Zoom, is just like, it's down the stack. We'll solve that problem. It's fine. It's down the stack. So this is a really minor problem, and I think it's the easiest to refute by saying like this will change with generations. But I cannot imagine logging on to a Zoom, no one's logging on to a Zoom call, logging on to like a Blue Jeans meeting, and everyone's face populates and it's all AI avatars and I'm sitting there like the only human. No, I would just log off. I think people would find it very rude if you sent an AI avatar to a meeting instead of sending yourself. Maybe like social rules would change, and 2 generations from now, people would be totally okay with you sending your AI clone to see your grandma in the nursing home. But to me, that seems pretty fucked up and like offensive and mean. And Eric Yuan, the CEO of Zoom, even says to Nilay Patel, who's interviewing him, he's like, I don't want to be at this meeting. I would send my digital clone to this meeting and it could handle it just fine. And you can kind of hear Nilay Patel audibly be like, oh, you would send an AI digital clone to this meeting, huh? That is rude.
So I'm assuming when you looked at your calendar today, you saw a decoder session. You were going to come to that on your own. What would you have sent an AI avatar to instead?
I think not AI avatar, essentially just the AI version of myself, right?
Sure.
Essentially, not only just to listen to the call, also can interact with participant in a meaningful way, right? Let's say whenever a decision, that the team waiting for the CEO to make a decision, or maybe some meaningful conversation, my digital twin sort of really can represent me.
I think you can throw that one out. Like, maybe in the future, no one will think that's rude. I would find that very rude. I would immediately log off any meeting where everyone was an AI. I'm not going to sit and talk to a computer. Absolutely not. What a nightmare. No. But also, imagine an AI avatar, digital clone, could actually do my job. Like, it could type my code for me, it could make my PowerPoint slides, it could go to conferences and present at meetings, it would come up with new ideas and write new software and run new simulations and apply for grants and get funding, and it could do all of that by itself. And I'm at the beach. Why would my company pay me? If all of this is being done on their servers with their energy, hosted on like their computers with their, information and their goals and strategies at that company, and I'm at the beach, I don't have a job anymore. I'm not at the beach, actually. I'm just hungry because I don't have any money, because I don't have a job, because the AI clones have taken the job. I don't think this technology will exist in 5 to 6 years. That's a ridiculous thing to say. But in the event that it did, no one is paying me to send an AI clone to do something while I sit on the beach. That's not how companies work. And Eric Yuan, the CEO of Zoom, knows that, because even though they're a video conferencing software, Zoom does not let their employees work from home. So is Eric Yuan, the CEO of Zoom, paying his employees AI avatars to do stuff while his employees are at the beach? I don't believe that for a second. Absolutely not. If this technology existed, why would companies ever pay anyone? Like you said, the AI digital clones can do 90% of the work which you think is just answer emails and go to meetings. why would companies ever hire anyone? Like, they could hire one guy, and that guy would do 100% of the work made up from the 10% of everybody else's jobs. But they could also have that guy's AI clones, go to all the meetings, write all the code, go to all the presentations, do all the things. Like, they don't need to hire people if the clones can do the work. So this isn't for people. This isn't so you and I can have a 4-day work week and go to the beach. This is for the people who own companies to go to the beach. Infinite growth with zero expenses because the AI clones do all the work. So it's not really for us, right? But it doesn't really make sense from a corporation perspective either. Why would you trust Zoom with all of your CUI? That's right. I have a job. I know what CUI is. Why would you trust Zoom to make an AI avatar to look through all of your secret information, all of your proprietary company information, all of your secret little apps that you're making, and then send all that information to Zoom so they can make an AI clone? If you think about Zoom, the first thing you think of is probably like a vaguely positive feeling, that Zoom, a company that looks like this, completely failed to capitalize on, where you were talking to like your grandparents for the first time, like over camera in April of 2020, and it was like really weird, but like also like you have nostalgia for that time, and like maybe you associate Zoom with that. But if you take a second and think of the second thing you know about Zoom, it's that the CEO of Zoom, Eric Yuan, pushed a product to launch that was not ready, that led to a devastating data breach, right? That was litigated for years. That's the second thing you know about Zoom. And now you want to give it an AI digital clone that has your social security number? Companies with proprietary data are not going to work with a company that's most famously known for not handling security issues well. If you search for Eric Yuan, the CEO of Zoom, the first thing that pops up is his apology letter, where he's really sorry about mishandling your private information. The second thing that pops up is probably devastatingly for him this interview, where he says some of the dumbest stuff I've ever heard someone say. If you're a company and you're like, oh my God, we could replace all of our workers with AI, that's amazing. Are you going to want to do that with Zoom? What if a competing company schedules a meeting with some of your AI clones? Do you trust Zoom to be able to handle that correctly? Do you trust Zoom to authenticate that the person you're talking to is the AI clone of the person you're talking to? Do you trust Zoom to ensure that the stuff that's communicated with that AI clones is all aware to both users? Like, what if the clones are moving information that you don't know about and you're just receiving a little summary of what happened? Do you trust Zoom with that? I mean, I'm not a billionaire company owner, so I don't know, but like I would probably Google the company I was going to use first, and the first thing that happens when you Google Zoom is privacy data breach lawsuit. And that leads me to like my biggest problem. Pie in the sky. 5 years from now, some random magician has made a tool that can allow you, a user, to create an infinite number of individualized AI clones that you can tinker around with and change the parameters to do whatever you want. That exists 5 to 6 years from now. How does Zoom go? What is Zoom doing in there? Like, why would the company that wants to use AI clones go through Zoom? That doesn't make sense. Zoom is a video conferencing software. If every single person no longer goes to meetings, you don't need video conferencing software. Two AI clones will not call each other with 3D avatars and look at each other over a Zoom screen and have a conversation. That doesn't need to happen. They could meet instantaneously, summarize the meeting with their little AI language learning model, send it to the user within a few seconds of the user saying, oh, send my AI to make a meeting. Like, there's no use for the Zoom video conferencing user interface. Zoom doesn't exist if AI avatars replace all the meetings, because you don't need to have meetings anymore. Zoom is a video conferencing service. What are you talking about? What do you mean? Explain to me why AI avatars would get on a Zoom call with other AI avatars. They can't see. They can't. What do you mean? It's so dumb. It's really dumb. I think part of the reason why Eric Yuan, the CEO of Zoom, gets away with saying dumb stuff and people like pay attention and write it down is because, look at him. This guy is like a handsome billionaire. And it's like, yeah, look at the Zoom stock again. Do you see that part where it goes up? Like, that was, I mean, it's devastating. The COVID pandemic is and was devastating, and hundreds of thousands of people died. But like, at the time, it looks like Eric Yuan, the CEO of Zoom, is like really smart, right? He knows what's going on. Like, he's got his finger on the pulse of like what people need. And so when he says really dumb stuff, like 5 to 6 years from now, 90% of work will be replaced by AI clones, people are like, well, maybe. I mean, he was right about video conferencing software. And it's just like, listen to the words that he's saying, though. Don't think about him being handsome. Don't think about him having $1 billion. Don't think about how he just got really, really lucky, like the biggest golden goose anyone has ever seen that one time. Just think about the words that he's saying. I'm going to read it out loud for you and listen to the words from me, just some dumb woman staring at a wall. I'm in a tiny closet. Can you tell how tiny this? I'm talking to myself in a tiny room. Imagine if you heard me say these things. Would you be like, wow, we're going to have AI clones in the future? That's amazing. No, you wouldn't.
Right. I personally have the doubt. Okay, maybe this underlying technology of the large language model isn't as stable a foundation to build the vision that you're describing. How do you overcome that? Because that seems like the problem today with the big AI visions. LLMs let people imagine a lot of things, but maybe they're not the thing you can actually build the vision on.
You're right on that. For any new technology, you cannot get it overnight. On the way, you'll see some hurdles like hallucinations. It's one of the problems. It's a very well-known problems. I think given the progress down the road, that problem will be fixed for sure, right? However, because of that problem, if you do not embrace that technology, I look at my meeting summary. It's amazingly accurate, and I think I understand in theory there's a hallucination problem, but so far, with our meeting summaries, I don't see that. So maybe in other contexts, that'll be a problem. If you were a venture capitalist and you heard me just say that, which just boils down to like, yeah, hallucination is a problem, but like I don't see it, it'll be fixed. Would you give me $3 billion to make a bunch of AI clones for you? No, because it sounds dumb. It doesn't make any sense. You can't just say, oh yeah, that's a problem, but it's a small problem, but it's not a problem for me, but it'll be fixed. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And just because he's a handsome billionaire, people write it down. They think what he says has value, but it doesn't make sense. Which leads me to like the biggest self-own of this interview, which is that this guy thinks he has a job. This guy is like, jobs, when you work and you have like 5 meetings and you don't have to be at 4 of them, you know how that's like a work day? And it's just like, Eric Yuan, CEO of Zoom, that's not what work is. Like, going to 5 meetings is not a job. You're a CEO, the one job that exists in the world that could be immediately replaced with AI. And you don't know that. You think your job is a job, and that's so embarrassing for you. You think 5 meetings a day is a job. Like, people, that's not what jobs are. People do work. Like, they make products. Like, you have workers that like write code and talk to customers, and you have salesmen. They're not just in 5 meetings a day. I have a tool for you. Give me $100,000 and I will tell you my AI tool. It's not an AI tool, but people always call tools that aren't AI tools AI, and I think that's funny. Where open whatever email client you use. Eric Yuan, this is for you, the CEO of Zoom, and set an auto reply. And for the next month, okay, do a trial for a month, and have the auto reply say, hello everyone, thank you for your email. I am in the midst of a family emergency and I cannot respond. If there is an absolute work emergency, please reach out to me at this number. If not, I trust your judgment to make whatever decisions you need to make for this company. Thank you so much for your patience in this time. And just every time someone emails you, every time they invite you to a meeting, have it send that. And I guarantee you, Eric Yuan, the CEO of Zoom, nothing would happen to your company. I mean, because your company looks like this. It would be the same. It would be stable. No one would ever notice if you didn't attend your 6 meetings a day where you were like, what if an AI clone could attend this meeting? Write that down. What if Zoom was an AI company, right, guys? And they're just like, Eric, we have to talk about like the data breach. We owe $80 million, and you wanna be AI first? That's not what this meeting is about, Eric. That's how I envision the meetings are with him. It's fine. I think this is the problem, right? This interview is not for you and I. Like, we are never replacing 90% of our work with an AI avatar and then we're at the beach. That is like CEOs of companies get to be at the beach, right? Like, we don't get to partake in that. It's not for us. This software is for CEOs of companies who want to fire all their employees and make the line go up, right? They want infinite growth with no expenses. AI could do that for them. It won't. But, according to Eric Yon, who's selling this product that doesn't exist, it's down the stack, according to him, it will. And then you can be at the beach. Not you or me, but like the CEO of a company is at the beach. And I think this is really interesting. Like, Zoom is a publicly traded company. Their goal is not to make a video conferencing product and give it to consumers. It was in the past, but now their goal is to make this line go up, and it's not going up. Sometimes companies do provide stuff to consumers and it results in this line going up, but that's like a side effect and not the goal. They want this line to go up, right? But the primary goal of owning and being the CEO of a publicly traded company like this is like your responsibility to the shareholders. Make this line go up. And like, it's not doing that. I'm going to do something really morbid and I'm going to plot the stock price of Zoom on top of COVID deaths. And you can see that very briefly, as I said before, Zoom was like a golden egg from a golden goose. And like, it was like, whoa, what's happening? And then, Microsoft Teams just was like, oh, I guess video conferencing software is important for people. Here it is. And they just rolled it out and everyone stopped using Zoom. Like, it's a very brief little thing, right? But that's not how companies work now. The line has to go up. So it's failing. Zoom is failing. Like they're cash flow positive, but like this is a failing company. The CEO of Zoom, Eric Yon, in this interview talks about how he's going to be competitive with Microsoft and Apple and stuff. And I just, like, you're obviously not competitive with Microsoft, but like you could have been. And I don't understand what happened. The thing about Microsoft is like it's got a chokehold on American businesses, right? Everybody uses Outlook, everybody uses Teams, everybody uses like Office Suite, but it all sucks. If someone emails you a Teams meeting and you click accept on that Teams meeting, Microsoft Outlook, by design, takes that acceptance email and moves it to the trash folder of your email. So if 2 days later you're like, oh, didn't I have a meeting at 2 p.m.? You have to go open the trash folder of your email and click it and find the Zoom link. I'm just kidding. You would find the Microsoft Teams link. Nobody uses Zoom. If you search in Outlook, like a phrase that you know is in an email you're looking for, Outlook won't search for that phrase. Outlook will instead change the search to what it thinks you wanted to search for instead of what you typed, what you wanted to search for. It's infuriating. All of Microsoft products are hot garbage. Like, it's just so bad. So insert like the Hank Hill meme about OneDrive. I don't understand why when Zoom was at the top of this tippy top, it didn't just copy all of Microsoft's stuff and shove it out as like companions to Zoom and then go onto a Reddit forum and just look at all of the complaints. Like the thing about invitations just going to the trash automatically and just fix all that. Like, why didn't they release a bunch of like a Teams messaging product to go with your Zoom conferencing calls? What are you doing? Why are you trying to make AI clones instead of a chat box to go with your Zoom conference calls? It doesn't make sense. What are you doing, Eric Yon, the CEO of Zoom? And I had thought about all of this because I listened to like the first 30 seconds of this on my way to work and I don't have data on my phone. So I couldn't keep listening to it because I thought I had downloaded the podcast, but I didn't. And so I just spent my whole drive being like, well, what could Zoom have done to fix this? What could Zoom have done in the moment to like take a little bit away from Microsoft Office and just like steal some of the chokehold on American businesses? And I came up with that idea. Slowly add on every single tool that Microsoft Office has. So, January of 2021, when universities are deciding, like, should we keep paying for this Zoom subscription or should we just switch to Teams for the classes? A bunch of people would have been like, oh, we have to keep using Zoom. I use their calendar service. Oh, we have to keep using Zoom. My research students, we all have this old conversations. We need all this stuff. Like, let's just switch to Zoom. And then I came home, I downloaded the podcast and I listened to it. And it turns out that Zoom did do that. The whole time I was using Zoom every single day for like a 7-month period, they also had a little chat box. They also had a little calendar. And I just didn't notice it. It wasn't advertised to me. It didn't pop up. Like they didn't push that. There was no push notification being like, hey, you want to use the chat box to send that message? You know, Zoom could have simply had a little email reminder that was like, hey, when you invite people to a meeting, do you want us to send a reminder 15 minutes before that meeting that they accepted that meeting instead of sending it to the trash? And I would have been like, amazing, I'm only using Zoom Calendar. But like, I didn't know about it. It wasn't advertised to me. And Zoom expects to be competitive with Microsoft. Like they can't even do that. How are they competitive with Microsoft? I mean, of course, 5 down the stack, 5 to 6 years from now, 90% of American workforce will be. I finished the podcast and I learned that Zoom had already been making those tools. And I was like, oh, what else has Zoom been making? And like, maybe I haven't heard of it. Maybe Zoom has interesting stuff, but like nobody's paying attention. So maybe Eric Yuan, the CEO of Zoom, is saying crazy things on podcasts so that people will go look at Zoom and be like, maybe I should try Zoom. And so I went to look at Zoom to see what they're offering lately. And I found, let me introduce you to post-quantum end-to-end encryption services. Post-quantum. I'm not going to talk about quantum computers. Quantum computers take advantage of like quantum mechanical principles. And the basic idea is that because of how quantum computers would be built, if they were built to scale, they would be much faster at doing computations than like a classical style computer. So quantum computers have been built, but they're all really tiny and they don't even compete with classical computers. But in the future, if engineering problems could be solved and someone could build a huge quantum computer, it would be way faster and way better than a normal computer, right? So what does this have to do with encryption? The idea is that if you have a quantum computer, because it can do so many calculations, it could break an encryption key that you shove into it because it doesn't take that long to try all the possibilities. Do you know what I mean? So what Zoom is saying is that they've developed an encryption tool that can work in a post-quantum world, post-quantum end-to-end encryption, and they're the first. So the obvious question I have reading this is like, but quantum computers don't exist like that. Like the quantum computer that you're fighting against doesn't exist, so how do you, what? And I actually sent an email to Zoom and they really helpfully responded. Let me read it to you. I said, hello, I've read this article, but I don't understand what post-quantum E2EE is and how it differs from E2EE. Do you have a paper I could read on the topic? What exactly makes this a post-quantum solution? Thanks. And they responded really nicely almost immediately, and they linked the same thing I linked and said I had already read, which is very silly. But listen to this. Post-quantum end-to-end encryption offers the same security property as end-to-end encryption, namely that only the meeting participants and not even Zoom's server have access to the keys used to encrypt the meeting. Unlike the latter, the post-quantum thing is designed to withstand the threat to an adversary who can capture encrypted network traffic, hoping to acquire a quantum computer in the future and use it to decrypt the captured data. So, if you're talking to your Mima on Zoom, and a hacker steals that data and then just puts it away and then waits till they get a quantum computer, a thing that is only theoretically existing, and there's so many engineering challenges to actually building it, it might not ever exist. It might exist in some point in the future. Zoom is saying they can't crack Mima's code now because it's post-quantum. Except, note, Zoom's post-quantum end-to-end encryption is not designed to defend against potential attacks that would require the current existence of a quantum computer capable of breaking classical cryptography at the time a meeting takes place. Oh. So it doesn't work? They also sent me a white paper, which is very nice, because that's what I was asking for. But let me read to you what that says. Our protocol protects against this threat by using the Kyber post-quantum secure key encapsulation mechanism to strengthen the encryption used to transmit the meeting key between the leader and the participants. However, for performance reasons, and given that the threat of a quantum computer is not considered imminent, we do not currently defend against existing quantum adversaries, so our signature and authentication are not post-quantum secure. And it's just like, so what is that? What is it? What is it you say that you have? Let me take you through some questions I imagine that a customer would ask. Hearing this, you might say, wait, quantum computers at this level exist? And Zoom would say, no. And then you might say, then how do you know what quantum computers will be like? And Zoom would say, quantum. Quantum. The answer is quantum. And then you might say, but how do you know what post-quantum computer hackers are going to be like? How do you know that your post-quantum E2EE actually works against quantum computers? And Zoom would probably say quantum, quantum, quantum. And then you might say, okay, so if I buy this product, your post-quantum E2EE will protect me against quantum computer hackers now or in the future? And Zoom would say this. For performance reasons, and given that the threat of a quantum computer is not considered imminent, we do not currently defend against existing quantum adversaries. So our signatures and authentication are not post-quantum secure. And it's just like, do you see how Zoom is offering a product with the promise that in the future it will be useful, but at the moment it's not really a thing? That's kind of a trend with Zoom, right? Like, oh, in the future, 5 to 6 years, AI clones all over the place. So you should probably watch Zoom stock, maybe buy some Zoom stock, because in the future, imagine I raised $3 million to develop a very specific chemical, and I put it in a bottle like this. And I was like, look at this lotion. It's got a chemical that's going to protect you against alien bugs, you know? Post-quantum alien bug spray. And you would say, oh my God, aliens exist? And I would say, no. And you would say, oh, so how do you know what the alien bugs will be like? And I would say quantum. And you would say, but how do you know that your lotion protects against the alien bugs? And I would say quantum, quantum, quantum. And you would say, so if I purchase this product, though, I will be protected against alien bugs? And then I would say, well, no, for performance reasons, and given that the threat of aliens is not considered imminent, we do not currently defend against existing alien adversaries. So the chemical defends against aliens, but the spray bottle does not. Do you see how that doesn't make sense? Like, how do you sell a product like that? What does that mean? What does it mean? You can't say, oh, in the future this will probably happen, which is why you should use this. When do you think quantum computers will exist? What year is that? You're preparing for that now in the event that, like, not only are quantum computers, like, tractable engineering-wise, they're so easy to build that, like, random hackers can have them, and they're not just, like, huge, like, cold things in labs. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean, though? Post-quantum what? We're not post-quantum. We're not post-quantum yet. What do you mean? Post-quantum sounds very silly. AI clones in meetings is an embarrassing thing to say. What is the point? What is this? This is a public interview. You can go listen to Eric Yuan, the CEO of Zoom, a video conferencing company, talk about how 5 to 6 years from now, 90% of the work you do will be replaced by a clone that's an AI language learning model tuned to you that you can, like, alter a little bit and make it a better salesman, and it will do all your emails and all your spam, and, like, you don't have to say happy birthday to your mom anymore. You can just send your digital clone. Is this what the people want? AI tools. And it's just, why? Send your AI digital clone. It's down the stack. You're at the beach. You're at the beach. You're not at work. You're at the beach. It's down the stack. It doesn't make any sense. How can someone say this out loud and think that it sounds like they're doing a great job being the CEO of their company? The entire future of Zoom hinges on the fact that 5 to 6 years from now, someone will do magic and make an AI tool that works and is trusted and has high fidelity, and you can allow it to make decisions and do things for you because you trust it, because magic has happened and now we trust the AI tools. And for some reason, Zoom gets that, and they're the one that is the steward of that code, and they send it out and they're managing it, and it's down the stack. It's just down the stack. You're at the beach, it's down the stack. What does that mean? why would anyone say this? It's like really embarrassing to listen to. Why would someone go on a thing they know is going to be published and say things like down the stack? Why? There's this like saying, I guess. It's like one of the Murphy's Law things. It says, never attribute to malice what can be explained by stupidity. And I don't really like that. Obviously people do stupid things. I do stupid things. Eric Yuan, the CEO of Zoom, does stupid things all the time. It's totally fine. But I think it's dangerous to just assume that people are stupid. And when someone goes on, a podcast and talks about how 5 years from now Zoom is going to be responsible for 90% of the workforce in America, maybe that's not a stupid thing they're saying. I mean, it is technically a stupid thing they're saying, but doesn't he have a reason for convincing people that 5 years from now Zoom is going to be competitive with Microsoft? Isn't it this plot? The line's not going up. How can he make it go up? He already tried talking about post-quantum computing. How else can we make it go up? Maybe AI tools. If I gave this interview and I said things like that, I would be embarrassed, right? You drive home and you're like, what was I saying? And I would call The Verge and I would be like, I think I messed up that interview. I know you're going to write about it, but could I have another shot? Could I try again to talk about my company? And I think that people at The Verge would be like, yeah, you really messed that up. That was real dumb what you said there. And they would let you do that. And you could go in and you could be like, here's what Zoom does. We're a video conferencing service. But he didn't do that. This is just on the internet for everyone to listen to, right? So there has to be a reason. It's not stupidity. So let's just talk about the legality of just completely lying about the prospects of your company and what that means. I mean, it's not lying, right? Let's be charitable and say just being super optimistic about the prospects of your company, which currently looks like this, and whether or not it will be competitive with Microsoft in 5 years when someone does magic and makes an AI tool that works. Listen, I'm not a lawyer. Right? Obviously, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not making any statements. I am simply asking what is legal and what is not legal, okay? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. Let's create a scale, okay? On the one hand, you have Elizabeth Holmes, right? And she's like, from one drop of blood, I can't do it. 1 drop of blood, cure cancer, blah, right? She's like, you know how when you go get a blood test, I got a blood test the other day. They took 4 vials from me because they have to do a bunch of different tests, right? And some of those tests are done with machines and some of those tests are done with humans. And 10 or 12 years ago, Elizabeth Holmes was like, no, with my thing, you're going to take 1 drop and all the tests will be done. And that's a really stupid thing to say, right? That's stupid. That's equivalent to someone saying 5 years from now, AI clones are going to do all the meetings in the world, right? That doesn't make sense, right? Because at that time, and it's still true today because she was lying, that wasn't a real product, some blood tests have to be done multiple times. Some blood tests have to be done on machines. Some blood tests have to be done on different machines. Some blood tests have to be done by humans. It doesn't make sense that you could all of a sudden have a paradigm shift in blood test technology and stick it in a little box that looks like a Keurig, right? And that was illegal. She said those things that were lies, and she went to jail, real jail, big boy jail, right? That was very illegal. Way on the other end of the scale, you have Elon Musk saying the Cybertruck will be waterproof enough to serve briefly as a boat so it can cross rivers, lakes, and even seas that aren't too choppy. So that was 2 years ago. And this is today. Also not a true thing. Also a really dumb thing to say. Just, you don't understand cars or boats or seas. You're gonna rubberize the boat? Where's the what do you mean it's gonna function as a boat? An incredibly idiotic thing to say. But no one believed him, and that wasn't illegal, right? Because he's not in jail. She went to jail. Where does Eric Yuan, the CEO of Zoom, fall on this scale? Him saying 5 to 6 years from now, I'm not building it, it's down the stack, but someone will give me an AI tool that will replace 90% of the human workforce fall on the scale of like 1 drop of blood cures cancer to like this garbage car is also a garbage boat. Where is it on the scale? I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. And I also question, like, how long can you keep this going? Like, oh, it's a post-quantum tool. We have that. You can check it when we get quantum computers. When we have a quantum computer that works, you can check to make sure that my post-quantum tool works in the future. And then 6 months from now, it's like, oh no, we have another call. AI tools 5 years from now, Zoom will be in charge of all the AI clones. That's where we're working on. That's what Zoom's on next. And it's like, cool, but what are you going to say 6 months from now? What do you say 6 months from then? What about when the 5 years is up and this obviously hasn't happened? What is the result of this? How long can someone keep this going? What is happening? I really wonder what the people who work at Zoom feel about this. Like years ago, when you got hired and you negotiated for like stock options instead of 401k matching, how do you feel when you tune into the Verge podcast and you hear the CEO of your company say it's down the stack? Like where is your retirement funds? Where are they? They're down the stack. It's down the stack. It's fine. And it's crazy because, like, of course, Zoom employees don't think they're going to get to be at the beach, right? Zoom got rid of its work from home policy. Zoom is a video conferencing company. If anything, they should have everyone working from home and be like, look how great it is. Look how we can use Zoom and we're functioning perfectly as a company. Everyone works from home. Isn't that amazing? Isn't Zoom amazing? That's what they should have done. But instead, everyone's back at work. The CEO is on a podcast talking about how you can never get rid of human connection with Zoom. But you know what Zoom will do? Send an AI clone to your father's birthday party for you so you're at the beach. Hey Angela, how's that Star Trek Picard video coming? It's gonna happen. It's down the stack. I've been working on it. Down the stack. Don't you feel guilty because you took a job doing atmospheric modeling so you could get into the field of climate change research and help save the world, but you didn't do that? Your job is comfortable and now you spend your free time on your little hobby making little YouTube videos. I'm sure your grandchildren will love watching your old YouTube videos where you call galaxies little guys that you smush together while they forage for lead-ridden volunteer tomato plants in fields of waterlogged cars and demolished concrete buildings. It's down the stack. It's down the stack. Yikes.